Good evening, everyone. It is 5 p.m., so we will get started. To respect everyone's time, we thank you all for joining us this evening. If you know anyone who is unable to make tonight's meeting, we'll also record this along with sending out the PowerPoint to make sure that you all have any information that we share this evening. At this time, we're going to ask Mr. Fields to open us up to get us started.
Awesome. So greetings, family members. It's so good to see your faces. It's so nice to begin the conversation about what it'll look like to have your students return back to school. I'm not going to go over the vision statement and all of that good stuff, so I'll turn it back over to Ms. Edmonds in a quick second. But what I wanted to share was that we are so excited to come to this space today to talk to you about some of the initial logistics, get your feedback, and really think about what does it look like to ensure that school is reopened in a safe and loving manner. So once again, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's call and looking forward to giving you some information as it relates to the logistics of this evening. Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Awesome. Turning it over to Mr. Akeem Aladdin for our vision statement and the vision at Prep Elementary for our reopening.
All right. Good morning. Not good morning. Good evening, Prep families. I'm just going to read the vision statement quickly and then just talk about set the stage for this town hall. Mastery Prep Elementary fosters joy, kindness, resiliency, and teamwork for our scholars, academic, and character success. We eradicate the opportunity gap with a transformational educational experience for all students. And Ms. Evans, you go to the next slide. Thank you. So we know that a lot of you are really excited to get back in the building. We've been doing a very thoroughly job, not only as a leadership team, but also teachers have been really giving us a lot of input and feedback on what this process should look like. So we really wanted to provide a safety for this in-person option. We want to make sure that our environment is ultimately safe, and we'll give you a really high-level overview today, but you'll be hearing more information from Ms. Evans on how we're going to really create a safe and nurturing environment for your students. We also want to provide a high-quality education. That's something that we've continued to do over the last couple of years, and we're going to continue to do that as we move back into the hybrid space, and also develop social and emotional skills. We know our kindergarten babies, they've had to spend part of their time at home, but we definitely look forward to seeing them back in the building. I see some smiley faces already, but definitely excited to come back in the building, build those social emotional skills, and also just continue to address the nurtural needs and physical activity. We'll talk more about what that's going to look like in the hybrid space. I'm gonna kick it back to Ms. Evans to kind of talk about the big overview.
Yes, so thank you guys for that, Mr. Fields and Mr. Akeem Aladdin. So I believe we all know that we are here to discuss the fact that Mastery Charter Schools Networks of Philadelphia and Camden has gotten to a place where we feel that it is safe to reopen school for students. What you see on your screen right now is our timeline for rolling out that reopening as it relates to Mastery Prep Elementary. So in a few weeks, we will ask that you bring your child in for COVID testing. We're asking that all students who are opting for any level of in-school support come in for COVID testing. Our staff will be in the building before that time as well, and they'll also be tested at that time. So that first test will be the start of our weekly testing for all students who are in our building. On March 1st, students in kindergarten through second grade will begin in-school supports. We are working through and thinking through if our kindergarten students are able to come a little bit earlier for kind of an orientation, since this will be their first time in the building. But the launch date for all students in kindergarten through second grade is March 1st. The week of March 8th, we will start hybrid learning for students in grades 3 and 4 at Prep Elementary. So the week prior to that, those students in grades 3 to 4 will have their testing, followed by them returning on March 8th. So that's the timeline there. We'll be sure to continue to give you guys more information and reminders as that comes up. Some highlights, because I know that before you make any decision, you are wanting to make sure that we are actually able to keep your child safe and keep our school community safe, what that looks like and what we'll be doing to do that. So all staff and students are requested to complete COVID testing prior to returning to the building. At Prep Elementary, we will be using the saliva test for students, so very minimally invasive for students and for staff members to be able to complete their weekly COVID testing and their testing prior to returning to the building. Masks will be required for entry for anyone older than 2 years of age. Additional cleaning staff or hours have been added to sanitize high touch points, places like doorknobs, railings, water fountains, and bathrooms that we know are areas that people will touch regularly. Distancing signs have been placed throughout the building to make sure that everyone remains at least 6 feet apart. And safety plans are in place to make sure that everyone anyone necessary is communicated to quickly in the event that there is an exposure. As we know, we'll be testing students and staff weekly. We'll be able to quickly determine that and track anyone who may have been exposed and make sure that you all are informed when necessary. So again, we'll be cleaning and sanitizing the building regularly and disinfecting the building overnight and cleaning high touch points. In the event we are having multiple groups use a classroom throughout the day at different times, those classroom spaces will be cleaned in between each group using those spaces. Hybrid instruction will pause for students or staff that are exposed to someone who tests positive for COVID-19 as confirmed by testing. So once we receive a positive test, we will quarantine anyone who has been exposed. You'll be expected to quarantine for 10 to 14 days. We know that the new CDC guidance has been updated to 10 days, but it can be as long as 14 days. Those people will also not be allowed back in the building during that time to make sure that we limit exposure to anyone else who may be in the area and to make sure that everyone remains safe during that time. For your reference, the CDC has outlined exposure as contact within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes combined in a day. So that's the guidance that we are using. So all of our guidance and our procedures we're using are based on CDC and Children's Hospital guidelines. In the classroom, kids will be sat in their seats at least physically distanced apart at least 6 feet. We're limiting the sharing of any classroom materials. No students will not share any manipulatives, books, or resources. Students will not help each other pass out papers. We're really limiting the touch points for students. And we're asking that you support and echoing that message with your child at home as well. Just understanding that we know it's hard. Children and humans are social beings, but for this time to keep everyone safe, we cannot share right now, which goes against everything we teach in school about sharing. Masks will be worn at all times for students. We are and have worked through ideas through making sure that kids do get some breaks, because we all know that it's difficult to wear a mask for 6 to 8 hours a day. Even that 20 minutes when you run into the supermarket where you have to put your mask on, that's difficult. And we know it'll be hard for students also. So lots of reminders, lots of patience, lots of teaching for kids. Hand sanitizer is in each classroom and in each doorway. And then after eating, we're working with the staff members and our cleaning staff to make sure that those areas are cleaned, as students will not eat breakfast or lunch in the cafeteria, but rather in the classroom to minimize any group congregations. I'll pause for just a moment for any questions on what's been presented so far, as it's been a lot of my voice. You can put those questions in the chat. I'll likely go ahead back and answer them, but I want to make sure that you're not forgetting any important questions that you might have. All right, so keeping moving along. So changes to our arrival procedures, again, in the efforts to make sure that everyone's safe, we are asking that before sending your child to school, that you complete the CDC symptom checklist. You guys have probably heard it. If you've made an appointment anywhere that required you to come into a space, we'll also make sure that that is available for you. Additionally, we will be providing thermometers to every child who is coming to the school for in-school supports. We, of course, ask that you take their temperature each day. We ask that you take their temperature each day before arriving. And if their temperature is above 99.9 degrees, we ask that you keep them at home, as your child will not be admitted into the school building with a temperature above that. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to have families enter the building during arrival and dismissal times. Of course, if there's a meeting that you need to have or business that you need to conduct, we'll hold those outside of arrival and dismissal. This is to make sure that we're keeping all students safe in the building and limiting any potential exposure. Again, hand sanitizer is available at all entry points and throughout the building. And we ask that if you're dropping off your child, that you do remain in the area until they're cleared to enter the building, as they will not be able to enter class if their temperature is above 99.9 degrees. Transportation, we're back at it, right? We're back at school as usual. So all students in grades 1 through 4 who live at least 1.5 miles away from the school are eligible to take the school bus. On your reopening survey, which we'll ask you to complete tonight, we'll ask if you would like your child to take the school bus if eligible. If that is the case, we will automatically enroll your child in school bus transportation. There's nothing additional you need to do, but we do need this information because we want our routes to be as clean as possible. So if you're eligible and you do not let us know, we will likely not put you on that route. And again, face coverings will be required for all students. We will have extra in the building. Please make them fun if you can, if possible. We're going to try to get some fun ones as well, and just practice with your child. I'm sure the same way you guys have to when they go to the grocery store, to a doctor's appointment, out of the house, anywhere inside. If they're wearing their mask, reminding them that school is no different, but we know that our kids have been living this life for the past 8 months or so. And so by the time they enter the school building, will be close to a year since the last time we closed. And so we know that kids are familiar with this process, but we will ask that you support with that. Like I said, at the end of this, we will ask you to make a decision on whether you would like your child to start coming into the building for hybrid instruction or to stay 100% virtual. So the next few slides are here to just give you some information so you're able to make that decision with what works best for you. School doors will open at 8:10 a.m. Students will be late at 8:30. This is a little bit later than our usual school day due to busing with the school district, in order to make sure that all students are able to get on school buses who are eligible, and that we're able to keep numbers small on the school buses. The school district has staggered arrival and dismissal across the city. So our updated school start time is 8:30, doors open at 8:10 a.m. To make sure that we're able to safely dismiss all students, kindergarten will dismiss starting at 2:30. Grades 1 through 4 will dismiss at 3:15, and students riding the school bus will depart school of between 3:30 and 3:45. If your child is in a blue cohort, if their cohort says blue or ends with a number 1, they'll have class on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the building. If their cohort is white or ends with a number 2, they'll have class on Wednesdays and Fridays in the building. On our 100% virtual days, the days will look very similar to students' current B days that they have. Well, they'll log into Schoology and have asynchronous assignments throughout the day. If your child elects for the 100% virtual instruction, if your child elects for 100% virtual instruction, they'll just log into the live feed that's happening in the classroom during that time. So they'll receive the same instruction as students that are live in the classroom. They'll just log into the Zoom session for that time. We have purchased technology to make sure that that's accessible. A note on dismissal for anyone, if you have siblings in grades 1 through, if you have a child in kindergarten with a sibling in grades 1 through 4, they will be allowed to dismiss at that 2:30 time. So we will have a procedure so you can pick up that 1st through 4th grader at that 2:30 time, only if they have a known sibling in the building. We will ask you that on the survey as well. That was a lot of information. I'm going to pull up the chat now to take any questions that anyone may have. It's somewhere hiding. Okay. I see something that says the uniform link is not working. We'll make sure to resend that out and update the uniform link information to you. Mr. Fields, can you reiterate our uniform expectations, please?
Yes, we will resume our traditional uniform policy. We'll make sure to embed that information electronically if you need that, but students will utilize the same uniform policy that we held while they were in building. And Ms. Edmonds and I will make sure that the link is updated with the actual vendor to purchase those uniform shirts and items.
Absolutely. So a couple of things. While we highly encourage both, neither testing or vaccination will exclude a student from being able to return to school. We are highly encouraging all students to be tested every single week. We think that it's a great practice to make sure that we're keeping our school community safe. With a high enough percentage of families who opt into weekly testing, we will catch anything that may be happening anyway. What we've seen across the city and across the country is maybe 2% of any population is denying testing for students. And it's a really great thing when everyone opts in and says yes. As for vaccination, it's recently become available to Group 1B, which includes school staff. It has not yet been rolled out for most children. And so at this point, it is not mandatory for students to be vaccinated before returning to school. If that information updates at some point, we'll be sure to let you know. We will start to ask about that once that happens, as that will impact testing. So once, students at the student level testing is available, we will begin to collect that information because that will impact the results of testing. If a student tests or a staff member tests positive for COVID-19, they will need to quarantine for 14 days, and they will also need a negative test before returning back to the building. So they'll need to quarantine for the 10 to 14 days. Excuse me for always saying 14. I know the guidance has been updated, and they'll need a negative test before returning back to the building.
Yeah, so if I decide not to vaccinate my children at all with the COVID vaccination, can they just be switched to virtual?
When we give you the survey, you'll have the option to choose virtual or hybrid. If you choose virtual, you will not be able to change that decision until we return until April 26th, which was the start of the 4th report period. So you'll stick with that decision through the entire report period. You'll have the option at that time to change. Like we said, vaccinations at this point are not mandatory for students or staff members at this time. So that's not anything that would exclude students or staff from being able to come in. And you absolutely have the option to remain 100% virtual at this time. That's the decision we're asking each family to make and the information we're giving today, so that you can make the decision whether you want your child to remain virtual. Mr. Fields?
It looks like from our leadership thread that there's information that the vaccine is not being provided for students 16 or children 16 and under. So that is, I'm not sure. I'm just
No, so we're not requesting a vaccine at all. Yeah, so at this point in the rollout, it's not even available. We do not know if or when that will become available. So a vaccine for children at this point is not an option. So it's not something that would exclude anyone from being able to come to the building. Again, school bus transportation, unfortunately, is not available for kindergarten students, only for students in grades 1 through 4. We know our families in kindergarten each year band together in general to just stick it out for a year until they're eligible for transportation. So we thank you for that. That is citywide because transportation is through the school district. Mr. Fields, there's a question about uniform hardships. If you can address that, will students be excluded if the family has a hardship with uniform? There's a number of comments there.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, we would never exclude student learning based upon hardship. We do have a document, Ms. Edmonds, if we can ensure that we create an electronic version of that document so that families can submit that. A couple of next steps for my team and I. So Ms. Edmonds, if you can please ensure that we submit the document via our weekly blast this upcoming week for the hardship component, and then we will of course connect with families as necessary.
Yeah, yes. So if you are in that situation, if that is a difficulty, please reach out to us, let us know, and we will send that over to you to make sure that that does not become a barrier for your child getting to school. Scrolling through, making sure I didn't miss any questions that we already answered here. Yes, so if you have a child in blue and a child in white, we have given you the option to indicate that on your survey. So please make sure you indicate if your child has a sibling in our school, so that way we can make sure that we can track that. We do, as much as possible, try to keep siblings together in blue or white, and we will make sure to honor that for reopening. You will not have to bring 2 kids on a different set of days than your other children. How do you know if you are in blue or white? When you log into Schoology, it ends with a 1 or a 2, the course code. Typically, teachers have also indicated blue or white. Can someone, Lauren, can you take the note for us to ask teachers to send out to the cohorts tomorrow if they're in blue or white? Thank you. So lots of questions around making a decision for whether your child should stay virtual or not. One, we know that students typically are learning best in the building, in the school building. Also, you know your child best if they are being successful in this current environment, and that is what is best for your family and for your schedule in this moment. Then you have the option to make the choice that is best for you. Mr. Fields, do you have any more clarification on that? Oops, I'm sorry.
No, I think you answered it perfectly, Ms. Edmonds. When we think about the socialization of students and their ability to interact with their peers, their classmates, we absolutely positively want our students to come back into the building. We also recognize that that could have a lot of logistical issues and concerns for you, as you've probably already figured out what daycare looks like, what does it look like for your child to attend virtual learning. So going back to what Ms. Edmonds shared, absolutely positively, we are strongly advocating and asking that you have your kids participate in our hybrid program where they actually come into the building. And we recognize that based upon some of the conditions or some of the adjustments you've made during this time, that it's probably best for you to stick to it. Another piece that we want to share as well is that students that we provide intervention supports to and things of that nature, but provide safety issues or provide like any major concerns that we're unable to resolve that could endanger others, we might most likely be asked to return back to a full virtual platform as well. So we wanted to name that on the front end. Of course, that is not the resolve that we're trying to seek. We're not trying to remove students from the hybrid program. We're also thinking about what's the best fit for every child. So I wanted to be transparent and sharing that out as well.
Thank you for that. Mr. Fields, will students online be required to wear a uniform?
Great question. No, we would not require students who are participating online to now adjust to go to uniform. I can provide additional rationale to that parent offline, or to parents offline if they would like to talk about that. We are trying to ensure that we are preparing our young kids and our young people for success, for post-secondary success. And we want to create an atmosphere that is thriving and is full of learning. So to have the uniform in school and building creates a mindset of academic learning. Not saying that that doesn't take place at home, but there's two very different environments. And we just want to make sure that we start laying that foundation for our kids right now.
Our instruction continues to be hybrid because we need to keep class sizes small enough that it's safe and that we are not having students gather in large groups. So what we're seeing preliminarily is that class sizes will be between 8 and 12 kids each. Our classes can safely hold up to 17 students with 6 feet physical distancing. So we've done the measurements of our classrooms. Our classrooms hold up to 17 students safely, and a teacher safely, but we're expecting that class sizes once students return to the building will be anywhere between 8 and 12 students. And we'll work to make sure that we keep within those guidances as well. We are working with our aftercare agency. Part of the survey that we'll be asking families to complete is if you're interested in aftercare. Of course, it is contracted through an agency we've worked with for the past couple of years. They do charge a fee, but they will work with you to make sure that you get the support that you and your child needs. For pickup, more than in past years, it is important that students are dropped off and picked up on time to make sure that we're able to follow through with all of our systems and keep every student in our building safe. On any given day, we'll have approximately 100 to 125 students in the building. And so with that, we need to make sure that we're keeping all of those people safe. They do accept CCIS, the aftercare agency. So if you know that pickup times will be an issue for you, we do ask that you reach out for more information. You can do that by clicking that yes button on the parent survey. The other 2 days that your child is not in the building, if you choose hybrid, other 3 days, I apologize. So your child will be, if you choose hybrid, your child comes to school 2 days a week in person. The other 3 days, they will still have instruction online. So they'll still be expected to complete online school during those other 3 days. Those are not 3 days off for students. You'll need to log into Schoology, log into Zoom, log into Lexia and Dern to complete assignments on those days. So the live feed for the classrooms, we have purchased cameras as well as microphones where we'll be able to have those set up in a location in the classroom for that to happen. The same way a student would see a teacher in this kind of little window that you see me in, they'll see that same teacher in that window during live instruction, along with any PowerPoint presentations and other online tools that teachers use. We'll continue to use all of the same learning tools that students are using online and in the classroom as well. With that, we do have a list. Is this it? It went away. So students will need to bring back and forth with them their laptop and their workbooks and reading materials each day, because they'll need those on the days that they're at home, and they'll also need those on the days that they're at school. So in making your consideration and your decision around that, know that their laptops will need to come back and forth to school with them along with their chargers. We'll give you more information on exactly what students need to bring each day as we get closer to the time, but know that they will not leave their materials and their laptops in school, because they'll of course need them at home, and then they can't leave them at home because they'll need their laptops in school as well. So again, as we mentioned up front, students will take a saliva test and staff will take the saliva COVID test, which will go in a vial. We send that off to a lab daily, and they'll get the results back within, I think, about 48 to 72 hours of that testing. So that's why we have pickups each day. All right. I think that is all of the questions that we have not answered in this presentation. Again, the presentation will be made available to you, as well as a recording of this session as well will be made available to you and all families. I believe you should be able to check your email right now, and the survey has come out to you via either text message or email on Parent Square. I'm also pulling in names now for our first raffle, because we thank you guys for joining us tonight to pull our first winner for our $25 Amazon gift card for coming tonight. We do appreciate you guys coming out and getting this information. Let's see, I am doing a random, putting it into a random generator and picking one name. Oh, lots of iPhones, which won't help. I'm gonna give you guys 30 seconds if you can rename yourself so that we can actually know who the winner is when I go in. In the meantime, I'm scrolling through. I see someone says their question was not answered, so I'm going to try to find that. For if you said that in the chat, can you retype your question? It may have just gotten lost in a lot of questions there. The survey is due on by February 5th. The sooner we get the information, the better we can plan. We do know that you may need to talk with other household members and other people to make the best decision. So it is due February 5th, but we do ask that you complete it as soon as possible. I will check as soon before we get off to see anyone who has been able to complete it thus far, and we'll have a second drawing tonight and then another one tomorrow to make sure that we get those surveys completed. All right, thank you all for unmuting yourself. I mean, for changing your names if you did. I am losing it. All right, our winner for tonight's raffle for joining us is Alice Wallace. Alice Wallace, if you can send me your email address in the chat, you are our first winner for attending. If you can, please head over to Parent Square and complete the survey. It's on Parent Square. It was scheduled to go out at 5:15. I'm going to check to make sure that that happened, and we'll pull our second winner. So Alice Wallace, please chat me your email address so we can send over your gift card. And then heading over to Parent Square for our, thank you. I got it, Miss, got it. And then if you do not have access to Parent Square, please complete our rapid response form. I'm going to put that in the chat for you as well. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and put that in the chat so that way we can make sure that you get access to Parent Square. Okay, so you won't be able to complete that this evening, but if you are not able to access your Parent Square, you won't be able to complete it in the moment, but you will be able to complete it by tomorrow, ideally for the next raffle. Let's stop recording now.